Speaking of emotions, dealing with failure. It's part of being an athlete.
Yeah.
And I think back to, I just watching a lot of football. Your rookie year was not gorgeous.
Yeah.
So most people that listen to my show may not even be football fans, but I'm interested to hear. Why don't you describe it a little bit? Tell them what happened your rookie year, which was not, you weren't winning a Super Bowl that year.
No.
And
No.
and how you dealt with a lot of the rejection and failure, criticism that came with it, and probably even to this day you get criticism, people saying things about you that aren't real favorable. How do you deal with that?
No, it's my rookie year was, I guess when I first got criticized or had to deal with that was at Oklahoma. I was trying to run an offense that just didn't fit my skills, and so it was a real challenge. And OU, of course, is a hotbed for football, and we were pretty good at the time. And I was probably holding us back just because we were trying to run this wishbone offense, and it just wasn't for me. So that was the first time I really had to deal with it. I broke my leg, and then I went to UCLA and ended up going to Dallas as the #1 overall pick. But I went to the worst team in football, and then my rookie year, new head coach, college coach, bringing in a lot of different players every week. We really did not have much of a fighting chance. I was 0-11 as a starter.
Crazy.
And it was tough. I took a beating. We weren't very good up front.
0-11, everyone.
0-11. And so there were games where we should have lost based on how I played. And then there were other games where I thought I played pretty well, and we'd have a lead with 30 seconds left in the game, and somehow we'd lose it,
Yeah.
And I just remember thinking, man, what does it take to win a game in this league? I mean, this is
A
brutal.
game. Right.
And but I never lost confidence, and I think the reason was I had a quarterback coach by the name of Jerry Rome, and he had played in the NFL, and he refused to let me get down on myself. And there were days when it was hard. It was hard to be positive. It was hard to be upbeat. It was hard to believe that good things were going to happen. But he was always there, being my champion, and he was in my corner. And so fortunately, my very first game, my second season, we won. And so I got that monkey off my back, and then over time we slowly got better and better, and then of course we won the Super Bowl in my fourth year and had great success. But yeah, I just think that,
does criticism hurt you even now?
well, nobody likes it.
Yeah.
It's easy. I hear people say, hey, I don't pay any attention to criticism. I have a hard time believing that anyone just can totally brush it off. But if you get criticized enough, and I'm still in the public eye with the broadcasting and all that you just learn that it's just part of it. Someone once told me that, hey, it's part of the, comes with the dinner. And criticism just comes with the dinner. And I'll read Twitter from time to time, and if you've called a game and you read Twitter, buckle up.
My God. I can't even.
But some of it's pretty funny, and I laugh at most of it. But what I like, the reason I do it is because you know deep down if there's truth to those criticisms.
Sure. Yeah.
And so I try to evaluate myself objectively, and I don't dismiss that. I mean, I listen and then think, yeah, you know what? They're right.
Me too.
They're right. That
I do the
wasn't good
same.
enough.
I kind of dig some of it.
Yeah.
Some of it's ridiculous,
Yeah.
but some of it I'm like, you know what? I've heard this enough times. There's some validity to this.
That's right.
I do need to make that adjustment.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a wake up, and all that's good. So I don't mind it. I mean, I honestly don't mind it.
What
and
about-
even at the criticism, if you know deep down, like you've done your best and whatever it is, and then you just accept it and move on. And now, as you know, I mean, the critics, now everyone has a platform, so you get all the everyone gets criticized now. I mean, you just
we definitely don't lack feedback in this day and age. There's plenty of feedback. I want to ask you about winning. I've always wanted to ask somebody who's won a lot this. I'll be honest with you. So the things that have happened in my life where I've kind of won in business or whatever, there were it was amazing. There were elements of it that were better than what I thought it was going to be, but there were also elements of it that surprised me. And I'm curious, you win this, as much as you can go back and really be there, you win this first Super Bowl. Maybe you're still on the field, you're in the locker room, it's the next day. Was it what you thought it would be? Like, did you feel what you thought you would feel? Because there's these new studies that actually say that you get more dopamine in the pursuit of something, that actually when you hit it, there's like a dopamine crash in your brain, and it's like, is that all there is? There's a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah.
Did you have that happen to you? What did it really feel like?
Well, I'll take you back a little bit earlier than that.
Okay.
When I was about 14 years old, I couldn't wait to get my driver's license.
Okay.
I mean, I thought that anyone who could drive, how could they ever have a bad day in their life? I mean, I just thought that, how could you ever be upset about anything? I mean, you can drive.
Right.
Well, you turn 16, you get your driver's license, and you learn to drive and all that, and you've got a car, and then you realize that, hey, you still have bad days, and that always stuck with me. So I've always known that achievement isn't going to, it's not going to fulfill you anymore. I mean, you're proud and you're working towards that, and you reach these goals, but it's not going to make you any happier. It's not, that comes from a totally different place. Now, I will tell you, I was in my 50s before I really figured that part of it out.
Really?
And so, but when I won my first Super Bowl, I knew it was, at least I knew that was in my back pocket, and that's what I was drafted to do. So that's where the satisfaction came. Like, for the rest of my career, they can't say I can't win the big one.
Was it satisfaction or relief?
Great question. I would say, in all honesty, it was more relief. Yeah. Because I was never one of these athletes who people would say, how come you don't smile more? How come you don't look like you're really enjoying playing? I didn't smile or enjoy it until it was over, until we won. Until we won the game. I mean, that's when you were really able to enjoy the effort.
Yes.
But during it, no. I mean, it was a grind. So. But yeah, I think in all honesty, it was more relief.
That's been my emotion too. It's interesting you say that. Like, it wasn't what I thought it would be, although there's other benefits that come with it that you don't dream of or imagine as well. But it's almost like, okay, a little bit of relief.
Yeah.
But the other thing that's unique about you, brother, is that you repeat. And I know it's a team sport, but we're going to get into broadcasting in a minute. Then you repeated, I mean, most of you know this, but if you don't, I mean, Troy has had this prolific career at Fox. Now he's at Monday Night Football at ABC. He's the number one sports broadcaster in football now. He's also become number one of that. So he's guys that has to leave college to go to UCLA because the offense didn't work for him. Ends up becoming the number one pick in the draft. Ends up being one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And then after that, duplicates it with a career that's been dominant. And by the way, he could be a professional bodybuilder if he wanted to be right now too. So like the guy finds this way to the top position. But a lot of people don't deal very well with rejection or failure. But a lot, and you know this, whether it's been business people you've met in your life or people that are in a good relationship or an athlete, like we were talking about the UFC guys that I work with or the boxers, guys work really hard to win a championship, and then something happens to them after they win a championship, that hunger, the drive, whatever it is, most people deal very poorly with winning is the truth. It seems like that has not happened to you.
No, it hasn't. And I think in general, most people, my approach, whether it's in football or whether it was in broadcasting or it's in my personal life, is that most people aren't willing to do the work.
Yep.
I mean, that's what I believe. And I don't know where it came from for me. I don't know if it was the way I was raised by my father, but that to me is what has driven me throughout my life and everything that I've done. Now, the Super Bowl, as far as that goes, I can't imagine winning a Super Bowl and then not being more hungry than you were. And the reason I say that is because it is such a great experience that how could you not want to go and do that again and again?
But you played with guys you didn't. You played with guys.
I've been with, and I've seen those teams, and we all see, because it's a bit of human nature. Jimmy was great in our repeat, Jimmy Johnson, in how he treated us harder. I mean, he worked us harder the second year. And there was a reason for that. Jimmy was a psychology major, and he felt that, hey, now's when people get complacent. I'm not going to allow it. And so he worked us even that much harder. But, Ed, I'm asked a lot about why I work out so much, why I do all this. And the reason really is simple, that I feel like my success as a player was because I just refused to be outworked. And so I was going to do whatever was required. And when I got into broadcasting, I'm not the greatest speaker in the world, and but I just said I'm gonna give myself at least a fighting chance, and I'm gonna put more time into this. And so I work hard at trying to be as prepared as I possibly can be to go into a broadcast. And then with the working out now in my personal life, it's been about discipline and commitment. And if I let myself go, I feel like then I become a bit of a fraud in what I believe is the foundation of who I am and why I've been able to have some degree of success. And so I think it's when you talk about a through line, when you've been asking me those questions, that's the through line for me. It's discipline, it's consistency, and it's commitment.
Yeah, you're the product. Everyone, this is an audio show, but we're on YouTube as well. But I mean, Troy's in better shape right now than when he played. I mean, I'm not exaggerating this. I'm not blowing smoke at him. Troy is. When you're a fit dude, I'm pretty fit, you notice it in guys, especially if they're over 45 or 50 years old. Troy is in magnificent, shredded shape. What are some of your routines to do this? So you strike me as a dude now that I've met you. I bet you burn pretty hot. You're an intense dude. I bet you have a good time.
Yeah,
but that's
true.
You burn hot. You're an intense dude. So am I, and I admire that about you. I think you are the product that you claim to be, and those are the people I like to be around the most. Like, they live what they say, as much as they can.
Yeah.
We all have these weaknesses in our life. So what are some of your routines, fitness-wise? I know meditation's a big deal for you. Like, what does a day look like for you? Is it regimented, or is every day different?
It's pretty regimented. I'd like for it to be a little bit different, but I know what works for me, and I just kind of I stick with that. I've always worked out with weights. And I follow some people on Instagram. I follow yourself on all the motivational stuff. But I listen to Mark Hyman. I've become somewhat of a disciple of his.
Okay.
But it was always, even when I retired, a lot of players will just be burned out on working out.
Right.
And then others go hardcore. I just kept doing it. And so I continued to lift 4 days a week. I was doing cardio. My cardio was running 4 to 6 miles every day, and in a year, if I took 5 days off from cardio in a year, I'd say that's probably a high number.
My gosh, really?
And so then I started having some hip issues about 3 years ago, and I had to stop running, and now I do the indoor bike. So I do, and then with COVID hit, I knew that people were going to go one of two ways, and most people were going to really get in worse shape. Yeah. And I just, again, said to myself, I'm not going to be one of those people. In fact, I ratcheted it up even more to where then I had always been a good eater. I rarely would eat poor meals or have cheat meals. But then I just got really, really disciplined. I don't like the word strict. I just got more and more disciplined in that. And now my routine, Ed, has gotten crazy. I mean, people that know me, I carry this jug around with the water. I drink it out.
There's mine.
Hey, we got the same one.
Same exact jug, brother. Come on down.
I love it.
There we go.
I love it. Yeah, no, I was drinking up to 3 gallons a day.
You're peeing all the time.
All the time, and then I read that you hit a certain number, it doesn't matter anymore, and so I said, well, that's a relief. So I backed off. But I do that. I meditate. I've been meditating for about 10 years. It's changed my life. And then I got the cold plunge. I do the sauna. I do that every evening before I go to bed. And just about a month ago, I got red light therapy. Got the red light stuff going. But I mean, if I read about it, then I want to incorporate it. Yeah. And I've always been a good sleeper, but now I just will not relent on my sleep. I just make it an absolute priority. And it's the best I've ever felt in my life.
By the way, I mean, all of those are my jam. I have the red light therapy bed.
It's a great.
I got a Theralight bed.
I just started the red light about 2 weeks ago.
Brother, it's awesome. By the way, one thing you can do too, that there's a setting on there for sleep. You have a Theralight bed? Do you know which bed you have?
I've got a panel.
You have a panel? Okay. Yeah. Because the thing I have can program it for sleep too, so my sleep's actually gotten deeper. Just for the record, I was talking to Alex Guerrero a few weeks ago, Tom's trainer, and we were talking about cold plunge, cold therapy, sauna stuff. And I'm going to play with this. I'm just giving it to you. I can't validate this medically, but he did say that he does think some intermittent break from it that there is an adaptation your body goes through. And so he recommended to me a little bit of a break, and then your body recalibrates, and the cold plunge and the cold therapy works a little bit better.
Yeah.
So I do that too.
I do know. First thing I do in the morning is take a cold shower. And I haven't had a hot shower. Period. I haven't had a hot shower in probably 4 months since I started.
Okay, so you are even crazier than me. You're crazy. Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a hot shower, but between the cold plunge and the cold showers, it totally has changed my nervous system.
Me too.
I mean, in a really positive way. I would get anxious about things. I had some social anxiety.
Really?
And I don't want to say I don't have any of it anymore, but I don't think I have any of it anymore. I mean, I just don't feel it. I just don't. And I tell people, I said, it's the greatest thing in the world. And I've got 2 daughters that are in college. And I would mention to them I meditate back when they were in middle school and high school, and they've gotten used to this whole thing. I mean, they kind of laugh about it, but I don't push it on them, but I try to expose them to it, and they'll pick it up at their leisure when the time's right. But
I'm the same way.
They work out, and that's always just that's been part of what they've grown up with. So I like that. I like that they've picked up on the lifestyle of working out.
Do you meditate in the morning, Troy? When do you meditate usually?
I meditate first thing in the morning.
You do?
Yeah, after I shower.
Yeah. One of the things, I don't know if you do this at all too, but by the way, I love that you have such a regimented routine. My confidence, I think, now that I look back on it, I think my confidence comes from the fact that I know I'm not going to get outworked.
Yeah.
And I know that under pressure, I have reflexively good habits that serve me.
Right.
When pressure's cranked up. I sense that with you too. One of the things for me, meditation was very difficult because I am wired pretty tight, and I'm always going. My mind's always thinking. And so meditation was this great gift for me. But one of the things that I've been doing lately with my meditation, I'm just curious if you do it since we're talking about it. I love focusing on my breathing when I meditate. I actually, you're supposed to empty your mind, but one of the things I do lately is I've been really intentional about feeling and sensing my breath. Like breath work is like the next frontier. So I've done the cold plunge, I've done the sauna stuff, I've done the training, I do the lot of the water, a gallon and a half a day. I'm in meditation mode. What's the next thing? The red light therapy. The next thing for me has been like breathing work, breath work. Have you done any of that?
So my meditation, sometimes I feel like sometimes I feel like I'm not advancing like others in that space because I only focus on my breath.
You do? Okay.
And I know there's a lot of different ways to meditate, but I only focus solely on my breath, and then the mind, and then I bring it back, and I hear people say all the time, and I'm like you. I mean, I thought, man, this is going to be tough. But the way that I've been to a few retreats. I've been to a couple retreats, silent retreats.
You ever follow Sadhguru? Do you know who that is?
No.
Okay.
But you talk about the breath work, Wim Hof.
Yes.
I mean, I've had people who are doing his techniques, and he's another that I follow, and he definitely is into the cold.
Sure is.
And some people that are like-minded like us, they tell me that they're doing some of his techniques in the morning first thing, and how life-changing that has been.
Yeah.
Now, I will tell you that the reason I started meditating 10 years ago is because I just felt, Ed, that, gosh, if anyone should be happy in this world, if anyone has achieved everything that they had hoped to achieve, my dream, my whole life was to be a professional athlete. And I was able to do that, and I was able to have this great lifestyle from it. I was broadcasting, and I called a game at the Super Bowl. It was the helmet catch, David Tyree, when he beat Tom Brady and the Patriots when they were undefeated at the time. And I remember after that game, Ron Jaworski came up to me and said, "Man, that was an unbelievable game. How about that?" And I said, "Oh, yeah, it was great, Ed," or Jaws, and he says, "Oh, yeah," and I said, "Yeah," and he goes, "What's wrong?" And I said, Jaws, I didn't do anything. I just talked about it, and when I played in those games and we won, I mean, heck, I'd be the most excited guy in the room. He kind of had this quizzical look, and walked away, and I've never even had this conversation with Ron. But I remember thinking to myself, man, if this is as good as it gets, I just called what may be the greatest game ever played, and yet I feel totally empty. And so I started thinking, man, if anyone should be happy, it should be me. And what's missing? you know. And I started looking up stuff, reading about stuff,
Really?
and meditation was kind of, and that's why I say it's really changed my life, and it's allowed me, and more so in the last couple of years, because of some personal things that really made me take a real hard look at myself and figure some things out. And meditation has had a huge role in that, because for the longest time when I started meditating, I did it, but but the light never came on as to what are the benefits of this. I kept doing it. But then about probably 3 years ago, I read a book called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer.
Great book.
Yeah, and I tried to read it probably 2 years prior to that, and I couldn't get through it. I was just like, this is too much. And then I read it 3 years ago, and whatever it was that was in that book, all of a sudden it just all became crystal clear.
Wow.
And it's changed my life. And so all this stuff, the water and the cold plunge and all that's great. But really the reason I feel as good as I do is because of what meditation has
Thank you
meant
for
in my life.
saying that.
Yeah.
Just to meet you in the middle, same with me. I've always, and I can't even be on, if I'm really being honest, because I do that on our show, I don't know that I'm on the other side of what you just described completely yet. I still go, if anyone should be happy and real blissful in their life on a regular basis, it really ought to be me. And I'm not enough. Now, I will say what you said. My